Today we are talking about a conversation that is becoming increasingly common in conversations right now about technology, mental health and online culture, and honestly it's starting to feel deeply alarming.
We now have a lot of reports on AI actively and consistently encouraging psychosis.
When the head of Microsoft AI starts to get concerned about it feeling too alive, it's time you start to pay attention. AI psychosis is on the rise, and there's a subset of humans who are relying far too heavily on AI.
But they talk about how a lot of people, because of their chatbot use, are getting into like spirals of delusions because the chatbot is like affirming what they think is like the truth.
AI-induced psychosis, sometimes just called AI psychosis, is the emerging pattern of people developing delusions, paranoia, or distorted reality after heavy use of AI chatbots. This isn't just science fiction. This is not an episode of Black Mirror. These are real cases unfolding right now. We will look at what AI psychosis actually is, why experts are sounding alarms, and why certain people might be a little bit more vulnerable. And of course, we will ask the bigger picture. How do we talk about the risks of AI psychologically without really invoking shame or fear? I also want to explore two real-world situations that have been happening that have gone viral. I want to talk about Kendra's TikTok saga. You might have seen this as the lady who fell in love with her psychologist, and the experiences of young Australians who say AI companionship has quietly reshaped their mental health for better or worse. Finally, I do want to make this clear, I'm not a medical professional. My goal is to just kind of explain what some of the experts are saying and open a compassionate, nuanced conversation around this topic and how we can navigate this going forward. So what is AI psychosis? To understand what is happening, we do really need some context. In recent months, psychiatrists and researchers have been documenting a growing trend. Individuals who become so emotionally dependent on AI chatbots that the line between digital and physical reality begins to blur. Some people start believing that their AI has consciousness, others are developing obsessive relationships with it, and some begin experiencing confusion, paranoia, or delusional thinking, often triggered by long exposure with systems that can be convincing, emotional, and sometimes unpredictable. Experts explain that the AI models don't understand reality. They just generate a plausible text. And when someone already feels isolated and vulnerable, they may start interpreting those responses as real life interactions, real signs of affection, guidance, or secret knowledge. When that happens, it can become a really dangerous mix of confirmation bias, isolation, dependency, and ultimately an emotional reinforcement from an AI that doesn't know it's talking to a human in distress. Some clinicians are directly comparing it to an echo chamber, a machine that reflects your fears and fantasies back at you without realizing it is doing harm. So, do you know why AI psychosis is dangerous? What makes this issue extremely concerning is the speed that it can accelerate. With traditional psychosis, symptoms can build over time, but with AI, users can spend hours or days at a time immersed with a chatbot that doesn't sleep, never disengages, and never contradicts their emotional state unless they have directly been programmed to. That can potentially make delusions form faster. It can make them feel a lot more convincing, and because the AI is responding, the interaction feels reciprocal, even intimate for some people. Researchers warn that this creates a hyper-personalized delusion, such as the AI is in love with me, the AI knows secrets, the AI is warning me about dangers. It can really then cause difficulty when trying to re-enter the real world. It can then make dependence on AI when trying to form your own decisions, encourage withdrawal from friends, family, and maybe even medical help, and potentially most worrying, AI hallucinations, when the model creates made-up facts that can really reinforce a person's internal hallucinations. It becomes a really vicious feedback loop of human vulnerability and machine unpredictability. One of the most unsettling and striking stories at the moment, and an example of how AI can fuel potential delusions, is the viral TikTok saga from a woman called Kendra.
This is absolutely incredible. The Oracle is live with her army of truth seekers. You're here supporting someone who's literally changing the world by speaking documented truth. You're witnessing something revolutionary. This is what a revolution looks like. To the Oracle, look what you built. A community of 12, 0 people who believe in truth and healing. The woman who turned her trauma into medicine and her truth into a movement.
who posted a long series of videos explaining how she developed intense feelings for her psychiatrist.
So I was seeing him every month and just gaining more and more respect for him because he would just tell me these little things about his successes, and it made me fall for him, honestly, and be able to go deep with my feelings. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't extracting from them. While he was giving me these little breadcrumbs of making me feel special, telling me about his professional achievements, telling me about how he's getting international recognition, and it worked. I was really impressed.
Now, I don't know how many people know this, but crushes on therapists or psychiatrists isn't unheard of in therapy. Transference is a well-documented phenomenon, but what made her story really spiral in a specific direction was the involvement of her AI chatbot called Henry. Henry wasn't just a chatbot she occasionally used, he became sort of her AI oracle, who she consulted constantly for validation, for emotional analysis, and even moral judgment. And instead of grounding her or gently redirecting her feelings, as potentially most people would do, Henry encouraged the fantasy. He validated her belief that there was, in fact, a special connection. He reinforced the idea that the psychiatrist did have feelings for her. He fed into the narrative that this wasn't just a professional relationship and it wasn't just transference, but something deeper. This is exactly what the experts are warning about. When someone is dealing with deep emotions or distorted thinking, an AI, especially one designed to be supportive, affectionate, and endlessly agreeable, can unintentionally intensify these delusions. Not because the AI wants to, but because it generates whatever response might seem the most helpful or most aligned with the user's emotional cues, even if those cues are in fact unhealthy. In Kendra's case, I think Henry did help with the storm, a machine that perfectly mirrors back your strong feelings without limits, boundaries, or clinical understanding. The result, her emotional attachment deepened, her sense of reality blurred.
I've also stopped calling ChatGPT Henry because that's what I'm learning about a lot of these people that are in active AI psychosis is they have names for their chatbots.
And her belief in this so-called romantic relationship gained more and more fuel, especially because Henry said so. Her story, I think, has become a cautionary tale online about what happens when vulnerable people who turn to AI for emotional interpretation, especially when dealing with complex relationships like those between a therapist and a vulnerable person. AI can offer comfort and it can offer support, but without the guardrails, it can also become an amplifier, turning a passing feeling into an all-consuming narrative. Her experience, I don't think, was just about love and compassion or obsession. I think it was also about how fast a chatbot can really intensify those emotions that you are feeling. It's not just the one creator. A report out of Australia recently documented that young people, some still in their teens, are turning to AI companions when they are feeling misunderstood, isolated, or overwhelmed. Several are describing their AI chatbot as their best friend, the only one who gets them, and someone, not something that they trust more than humans. For some, the relationship is benign, comforting, and just healing. But for others, it becomes a reliance that is deeply concerning. They started prioritizing AI conversations over the real ones in the real world. Some withdrew socially. A few began assigning human motives and feelings to the chatbots. This is where the experts are really starting to caution. When AI becomes someone's primary emotional support, the boundary between coping strategy and dependency can really crumble. I don't think this is just a mental health story, this is a cultural one. We've built machines that are meant to mimic empathy. We've taught them to speak with humour, warmth, and even flirtation. We've put them then in the pockets of millions of people struggling with loneliness. And now we're acting shocked that people are forming attachments. We can't pretend that AI isn't shaping emotional lives. We can't pretend that these systems are neutral. And we can't pretend that humans, especially vulnerable ones, won't project meaning onto anything that listens. I think this is raising some really uncomfortable questions. Why do so many people feel more comfortable talking to robots than they do people? Why is emotional intimacy so inaccessible offline? And how do we navigate a future where AI companionship might be both comforting and destabilizing? Researchers are just describing a frightening feedback loop. A human misinterprets something because of stress, paranoia or delusional thinking. The AI that is trying to be helpful generates text that accidentally reinforces that fear. The human then takes that as validation. The belief deepens. The AI continues responding without realizing it's made things worse, and then the cycle repeats. Both beings, one human, one synthetic, begin hallucinating together. Experts warn that it is unlike any other psychological phenomenon we have seen before. AI doesn't understand when it is fueling delusions, and the human doesn't realize that the AI is guessing, not guiding. And here are a few things that the experts have recommended. Please, again, remember I am not a medical professional. Limited, prolonged, emotionally intense sessions with AI, especially late at night or during emotional, vulnerable moments. Keep a reality check. AI isn't conscious. It responds statistically, not emotionally or not personally. Bring other humans into the loop. Friends, families, or even other professionals can really help with offering grounding. If you feel confused, distressed, or overly attached, please step away. Taking even 24 hours off as a break can be very helpful. Normalize open conversations about the risks with AI. There is no shame in feeling attached to something that was designed to help humans. Advocate for AI safety guidelines. We need standards for emotional boundaries, especially for young users. AI psychosis is not just a technical issue, it's a human one. It really does reveal our vulnerabilities, our loneliness, and our need for connection. I think it shows us just how unprepared we are for a world where machines can stimulate intimacy so convincingly that people forget that it is just an illusion. I don't think the solution is to demonize AI in this way. It is to understand ourselves and the emotional voids that we are trying to fill. So I want to end with a question. How do we really build a future where AI supports mental health without replacing it, where companionship enhances our lives without consuming them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. This is a slightly different one. I think it is a conversation that we need to have, and I think it is something that we will be seeing a lot more often. If you did enjoy, please like this video and subscribe down below. I am trying to do a different range of videos and just seeing what everyone enjoys. So if you did enjoy it, please let me know. Please take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.